Welcome back to Cameron's Classics. Today we're going to be working on the Oldsmobile. Cameron went back to St. George, so the Mustang got pushed back. We are waiting on a few parts, actually, anyway, so before we can put the radiator grill support back in it. So we're going to jump back on the Oldsmobile. What we're going to start with, we did show you a video earlier last year where we started to do the wiring harness in this. But what we found is when we went to put the heater box in, it wouldn't work because the wiring harness that we got was a universal one, and it has a great big power distribution block in it. It wasn't going to work with the heater. We had decided we were going to skip putting the heater in this because we were waiting. The metal heater box on the inside was back ordered for over 2 years. But it just so happened that as soon as we started putting that wiring harness in, then we get shipped the heater box. So what we ended up doing is we pulled that back out. We're going to start all over. Again, American Auto wire. This is 95% of the wires that go in the car. They don't provide a few things like battery cables and grounding straps and a few things like that. You have to provide your own of those. They do not make one of these for the Oldsmobile 442, so what we did, 64 to 67 Chevelle. And that's probably going to give us about 90 to 92% of our wiring. There's going to be a little bit of things that are different between the two cars. So the engine, we may have different sizes. We may have to get a different cable for the alternator to starter, for example, because Chevrolet is different than Oldsmobile on some of the engine stuff, as well as the tail lights may be a little different. There may be 2 bulbs in a Chevelle, I don't remember, and this may have 3 or vice versa. So we may have to do a little bit of that type of stuff, but that's not a big deal. This is going to give us most of our wiring, so let's go ahead and get started with that. So what we'll do, pop open the box. We had a little sun issue, so we'll back up, show you this again. So the kit's from American Auto wire, 64 to 66 Chevelle. Again, it's going to get most of our wiring done, but maybe not all of it because ours is an Oldsmobile 442. But we'll deal with those issues and have the majority of the wiring done. So let's go ahead and we'll get this open. So what we'll do, pull the instructions out, set them aside. We will use that. And we'll go ahead and we'll get all these unbagged, ready to go. Each one will have its own instruction manual as well as the connectors. So I believe this is one of the best things you can do to these old cars, in my opinion, is to update the wiring. Instead of fighting, a grounding out wire or anything of that nature, you're just dealing with all brand new wires. We kind of showed you this, but we'll show you it again. So on the wires, so these are for courtesy lamps. So there's your courtesy ground, a fused battery, and we may use all these, we may not. We may end up using, if we don't do the courtesy lights, we may pull the fused wire to run our fuel pump or something. But we'll get these all laid out, and then we'll get going on this. So the first part will be, this one's going to go inside the car, on the inside, like this. And then there will be an engine harness that'll plug into one of these, and the front end will plug into the other. So there's your front light. So front lights will plug into one, engine harness will plug into the other. And because both these are A-bodies, we are hoping this will fit. If not, we may have to trim a little bit or cut a little bit on the car to get it to fit, but we're hoping it'll fit because they are both A-bodies. So let us get this all apart and we'll come back to you. Okay, so we run into our first issue with the wiring. The hole's not quite big enough. They do include a template. So we'll go ahead and it's a pill and stick. You cut it out and then pill and stick it in the hole. So we'll end up getting it in there. I'm gonna cut it a little bit shorter. It's really made to come from the outside, but with our inner fender in there, we're gonna do it from the inside, so we'll make it a little easier on ourselves. Okay, so we got the template in there. We'll go ahead and we'll figure out how to get that cut. We'll get it cut and we'll come back to you. Okay, so we went ahead, we put the fuse block in. That took 2 of us, so there's just me and Dad here. So we can put in the outside connector. You can see that. This just plugs in and screws in. But we're going to keep our wires separate. This side is for the engine. This side is for lights. As you can see, it's a lot of wires. Just kind of plugs in, and we'll have to grab us a ratchet because I can't get this nut driver in there, so let me grab a ratchet. So that's on there good. So these ones are coming up to the front. These are our headlights, parking lights, turn signals, probably the horn wires in here. So I'm gonna go ahead and let me set my ratchet down. I'll show you what we're gonna do. You're gonna kind of fan these out a little. Get them all the way to the end so they're untangled. most of this is going to get cut off, but kind of trying to get them so they're not all tangled up. And we'll go through and we'll loom these after we verify where the wires go. We want to make sure they're all coming out here, so we just don't want to get any hard kinks in them. And we don't want them all tangled up either. Okay, so that's pretty good. Grab my glasses so I can see what we got here. Okay. We have a horn that comes to the front. Right front turn, that comes to the front. Electrical fan, we'll run that. We're not going to be running an electrical fan, but we'll run it up there. Then if in the event we ever put one in the future, it's already wired for it. High beam headlights. Headlight low beam, park light, left front turn, and other park lights. I'm going to pull these park light ones out. See, they just kind of get into a big tangled mess. So we are going to run it out to the park lights, but I just kind of wanted to get them separate where they were a lot longer. So what we'll do is let us find our loom. We have loom from another project. What I want to do is that's the whole reason we put these fenders in. I want to run it up underneath here. So we're trying to hide our wires as much as possible and make it look good. So let us find our loom and we'll come back and show you what we're going to do. Okay, so I got my loom, and what I want to do is I want to come basically up to the headlights, and from there then we'll break everything out. It should fit in this size loom. Let me make sure. Go bigger. I do have some bigger if we need it, but I want to use the smallest size I can. So as you can see, it's kind of tight. I'm going to go with the next bigger size. It's a little bigger than I want, but it'll work. Now that I know it fits, it's going to fit, I'll just cut it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run it here, up to here. Give me a little extra, I can cut it off on the other end when I get there. Throw that out of the way. And I'm gonna put the loom on first and then feed it through, because that'll give me a little bit, it'll be a little easier. So what you do is you get it started. And take a little electrical tape. And just wrap it here around your end. And all you're doing is holding it together at that spot. As you can see, wiring is kind of a mess. I'm constantly tripping over it. But I'll go ahead and run this and come back to you. So putting the limbs on is a little bit easier as two people because you basically just slide it and feed it in as you go. If you'll notice though, I'm leaving a little bit here on the end. I want to tape it so this holds together. So the wires don't come out of it, but I'm going to leave a little bit on the end. And the reason for that is once we get to this point, I've got wires going down to the horn. I've got wires coming across to the lights. We'll mount those up under here. The wiring across to the lights. So basically you put the plug here, plug here, plug here, plug here, and you just kind of build up across there. The horns are down underneath here. Electric fan, of course, we'll just leave in a loom. We may just feed it back up into this one. Just not put the fuse in. And then we've got the parking lights are down here. So we'll run one to each of them. We'll probably take the one going across and we'll run it with the headlights over. The other one will just drop down. But if I leave it like this, then I can take smaller ones. So say I'm just going to have these two wires in a loom, then I can feed my other ones up in here and then just tape them all together. I will show you that when we get to it. So give us a minute and we'll come back to you. Hey, welcome back. So we're ready to go build it. You can do this with other crimpers, but if you're going to do many cars, go ahead and buy they're kind of expensive. They're about $126 for these two crimping tools. This one does the singles, so these smaller ones, and this one does the double wire or multi-wire. Usually it's just two, like this. We're going to go ahead and we're going to build out the grounding pieces, and we'll show you how these work. So we want to leave as much as possible. We just got to make sure that we can reach both lights. We're going to take our ground over to here. And come off one light and go over to the other light. It'll leave us a little bit extra. Give me a second, we'll come back. Sorry about that. We weren't even using the compressors, they were on from earlier. But you just shield this back a little bit. And I actually have a little too much. Let me show you kind of what you're really looking for. So this back one, you put your insulation, run it up to that first one. Like I said, these are the right pliers for the single end. And it's kind of weird. So let me really show you what you do. You put them in upside down of what you would think. And just crimp it just a little bit. And what I'll do is I'll put it in my tool. And I'm going to crimp the front first. So it's a double, you have to do a double crimp. So go ahead and feed my wire in. Crimp it down. As you'll see, it does the factory big crimp. And then you run it through the second one. And you do that only on that one, on the wire one. And it does the curl in crimp on your like your modern wires. And then you go ahead and you just do the single crimp on this one, because all you're doing is tying the insulation shielding on like that. So you get a nice good clean crimp. And then what you'll do, these are our headlights. Make sure we go on the right side, and the ground is on the left. You just got to make sure I'm getting it looking the way they have it. And that way. And these just feed in, they clip in, and that'll be ready to put on the headlight. We'll go ahead and we'll strip this one. This one's going to be a double one. I like to just put it in there, kind of eyeball where I gotta go. Good wire tools is very helpful. Make sure you use the right one, otherwise you're just going to be cutting your wires. And this is a double tool, so we'll use that. And we can actually, if we just start with this one in here, they do give you a few extras if you do lose some. We'll find that one, it was easy. Okay, so, and these ones you take and feed in both wires. Helps if you give them a little twist. Get the wires together. These have a kind of a groove on the end for twisting wires. Klein tools, really well built. I've had these for quite a number of years. They work really well. Not real expensive, but a little more expensive than your cheap ones. Flip it over. It's kind of weird because they seem like they go in upside down when they do. So your inside one's for your wires, your outside one's for your insulation. So that gives you that. And we do a 3-prong. And it goes this way with it on this side. You'll notice there's a little groove in there. That's the side that goes on. You just pop it till it clips. So there we have our ground wire and our headlights. So it's just a whole lot more of that for the next probably 4 days for us. So we're not going to bore you with that. We just wanted to show you a little bit, show you the tools, how they work. You can just use regular crimpers. We did 2 cars that way. But if you're going to do more than a car, it's well worth investing in them. You saw that took me a little bit to even get those ones to do it right. Using like just a pair of your normal wire crimpers takes a whole lot more time than that. So it's well worth the money if you are doing more than one car. If you're going to do one car, you can get away with just using the crimpers, but these are a lot better. Thanks for watching. Like, share, and subscribe.